And this is where the team synergy will come through complementary strengths if you have done your onboarding well. So the first thing we need to make sure is when we have the onboarding, and as we just said, is that have a customized full onboarding plan for each of your new hire. And one thing I mentioned is including regular one-on-one with each of them, one-on-ones, and including your new team members in your team meetings as soon as possible. These regular one-on-ones especially will not only allow you to get to know your team member, but also for them, it will allow them to ask you questions, to provide you feedback, to see if they are struggling, if they need additional support. Maybe they're going to ask you a question you didn't think of, and you will say, oh, but that means maybe you could talk to that person. So really make sure you have this regular one-on-one, and it's even more critical now, as Wes said, with the COVID situation. We have more and more people working at home, and they are even more isolated, and it's even more challenging because they cannot go and meet their team members or their colleagues like they would do if they were working in the same office. So you need to make sure that there is this ongoing, this regular communication with yourself, and set up a plan so that they can talk to their peers, to their colleagues, so that they know that they are not alone, they are not just thrown away somewhere, and that they will have to do their job by themselves. They are part of a team, and they need to feel part of the team. This is how you can make sure that your onboarding is humanly sustainable, by really including your people, by ensuring this constant communication. And your one-on-ones, they may not have to last an hour. If you have a big team, and 1 hour may be a lot, but I would say, especially with your new hires, that 1 hour is well spent, because again, this is how you're going to start to build trust. This is how you're going to get to know each other. You will know your team member will start to get to know you, to find out what type of manager, what type of leaders you are. And they will see whether they can ask you questions, they can come to you with their challenges, if they can get the support that they need. So really, really important that aside from the customized full onboarding plan, whether, again, as we said, it's training people on the tools, on the policies and procedures, the values, etc. You also have this part regarding communication, because this is really, really critical. Another thing I would like to add about the customized full onboarding plan, and it's part of this customization, especially if you're working internationally and if you have like offices in different countries, you can still have, let's say, a standard onboarding plan and still be able to customize. And by that, I mean, you can ensure that you have 70 or 80% of your onboarding training plan that is the same across the different countries. And then you leave 20, 30% of that country specific. So like Anton mentioned earlier on, if there are certain things they need to know about certain customers in a certain country, this is where you would teach people or train people on what they need to pay attention to, whether they need to use certain tools. Like when I was working in Amazon, for instance, at the time I was there was Amazon logistics that was only in the UK, but that was not in France or in Italy, Germany or Spain. So the people we were training in the UK had this Amazon logistics specific that was not delivered in the other countries. But the rest was kind of standard. They were getting the same onboarding training plan about the culture, the way Amazon was working, the website, the customers who were there in general, how about the policies and procedures, the tools, etc. But there was that 20, 30% of things that were really country specific, and you can still ensure a standardized experience with some customization in there. The other thing you also need to make sure is that you give enough time for people to familiarize themselves with the tools, the policies, the procedures, getting to know who is who. As we discussed in the panel, usually it takes about 90 days for people to come up to speed with what they need to know, find out who who is who and how to interact with each other. But also one thing you need to keep in mind that as everybody is different. We said we have introverts versus extroverts. So some people may be a bit more shy in asking questions. And again, to my point, especially if you're working with people from different countries or different cultures, you also need to take that into consideration. In some countries, it is not custom to ask questions, to provide feedback, or to even say that you disagree. I know, again, when I was working and I was setting up the team in India, I know my Indian colleagues at the beginning, they were afraid, they were hesitant to tell me something. And I was telling them, please ask me questions, give me your opinion, give me your feedback. And it's okay, because first of all, I don't know everything, and you guys are the experts in the area. So maybe there are things I forgot, or maybe there are things I don't know. So please don't be afraid. So you need to encourage people. You need to create this open culture that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to provide feedback. And again, some people may do that straight away. You also have some cultures who are very direct. Like when I used to live in the Netherlands, people are very direct and they're going to ask questions and tell you what they think straight away. But you have some other countries or cultures that where people will need more time to tell you what they think. So you need to provide that safe environment so that they know that they can trust you as a leader and that they're not going to be punished to give their feedback or ask questions. So it's very, very important.
We've got a comment from
Yes.
Isaac. He says, you don't build trust by others until you learn to trust them. I know about many managers who refused to let their employees working from home because they couldn't micromanage them. Now they have no choice because of COVID. Some manage to adapt and some are struggling.
Exactly. No, a great point, Isaac. It's exactly it. And I can imagine for, as you say, the managers who are micromanaging, they probably have had a tough time with the current situation. But I think when you have built this environment of trust, when you tell your people, I trust you, I know you can do a good job, I know that if there is a problem, you're going to come to me. People, everybody wants to do a good job, and by building that trust, then again, it doesn't matter where they work. If they work next to you in the office, or they are in another office or in another country or working from home, people should be able to do the same. And that's what I've said before. I've always done that with my team, and we've achieved our results, and they went above and beyond, just because I was trusting them and empowering them to do their job and not micromanaging every single task they were doing. So great point, Isaac. Thank you. And the other thing that is important is also to, as we said, you can be the mentor, but you should, to me, I think also you can assign them a mentor or a buddy to help them getting up to speed. The reason is there are different reasons for that. The first is that, again, because you are the manager or the leader of that person, he or she may be a bit afraid at the beginning. He or she doesn't know you. While if you put someone, a buddy or a mentor, he or she may be more inclined to ask questions or provide feedback. So that's the one reason. The second reason is, again, you as a leader, you need to make sure you develop your people further. And by assigning someone as a mentor, you provide the opportunity to your new hire to develop himself or herself better with someone else. But you also provide that person who has become the mentor to also show another side of what they can do, of their potential. You are delegating things, and you show as the leader that you are developing your people, and you will maybe find out that this person was a great mentor, and maybe in the future can be a mentor again, and maybe be your backup when you are in a meeting or sick or on holiday, etc. So by assigning a mentor or a buddy, it helps the new hire getting up to speed more quickly, but also, again, have someone else they can trust. They can start building a relationship. And as I say, you are helping the other person to develop themselves. And another great point I didn't mention here, but that Jeremy mentioned, is the shadowing. Obviously, this also helps through the onboarding and getting people up to speed, if they can shadow their colleagues, if they can sit next to them looking at what they're doing, who they're talking to, how they're working, how they're using their tools. This is usually great because people first see what people are doing, and then they can switch. The person they were shadowing can become the one who is going to look, and the person then feels more confident to answer a call or to do a certain task because they have someone next to them that is shadowing them and looking at them and helping them and guiding them. So by having all these bits and pieces together, this is how you create team synergy. As I mentioned earlier on, again, by ensuring that you have this regular communication, that you're including your new hires in your team meetings from the beginning, you show your team member, your new hire, that he or she is part of a team, but you also show your existing team members that there is a new person on board and that the dynamics may be a bit different for a certain period of time. Because again, as soon as you have a person in a team, it's a change, not only for the new hire, but for you as a leader, also for the other team members. So by really making sure that the new hire is included in these team meetings as early as possible is a great way, again, for people to get to know each other, to know what is the person's strength and how they can help the whole team. And again, by building that on a regular basis, especially again, virtually, the team meetings still need to happen, and ideally via video like we're having now. This really helps building, again, this trust, this team building, and again, helping the team move forward and achieve the goals that they need to. So really, really important to do that. Another thing I would like to add, and it's especially if people are working internationally. Again, we now live in a global world, and as you know, before you may have hired someone in your area, working in your town, but you may now have to work with people internationally, have teams in different countries or different regions, or even your customers that are in different countries or different regions. So when you are onboarding your new hires, it's very important that you include a cultural awareness module or training. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, it means it may be for someone that is the first time they are going to work internationally. Maybe you're recruiting someone who's just out of college or university who has never worked before, and suddenly this person has to work with people in different countries. That can be an example. Another example, if someone, again, has been working only nationally, and now you've hired this person to work with your international customers. Or maybe you've hired someone from another team, and now the person has to deal with people from other countries or cultures. So really make sure you include a cultural awareness module and training. And what does that mean? That means you need to explain them what it means to work internationally, the things you were taking for granted before, or that your new hire was taking for granted before, may no longer be applicable now. And by that, I mean, again, just the time. As we know now, for some of us, for me, it's late in the afternoon. Our Indian colleagues in the evening. For you guys in the US, it's still daytime. So taking into account the different time zones, that if you schedule a meeting, don't schedule it in the middle of the night for some of your colleagues or some of your clients. Make sure you take that into consideration. Speaking about yes, sorry. Yes.
We've got a comment from Wes. He says, understanding cultural training through Geert Halstead 60 cultural comparison model.
Yes.
Young and Hammer's problem solving and communication styles is eye-opening concerning why one statement or question may be very innocent in one culture versus creating tension in another culture.
Exactly.
As our teams and communities become multicultural, there's a greater emphasis to understand these differences.
Exactly. Excellent point. Yeah, Wes. Yes, Rechtofstede is a great one to refer to. And to me, that's also why when I trained people as well on what it means to be an international leader, I really spend time on that communication aspect, because as I said, some just basic things, some expressions, and Kevin and Anton know sometimes they say things and now they're asking me, do you understand that, or have you heard that expression before? And I really appreciate, because things that you guys in the US may use on a regular basis are not obvious for people like me whose language is not, I'm not native English speaker. So some expressions I don't know, I've never heard before. So always take your audience into account, whether they are your new hires, your team members, or your customers. Be careful of the expressions you use. Be careful of using humor as well. Again, you may think you may be making a joke and you may think it's funny, but for someone else it may not be funny, and because maybe it's being offensive to them, or maybe because they just don't have the background. Maybe you're referring to, let's say, a TV program, something that is very famous in your country, but then outside of your country this is not known and everybody is laughing except the person you wanted to make laugh. So really important to not assume, to really take your audience into consideration with the words you use, the expressions you use, the humor you want to do, the abbreviations you use. Ramesh, the one you gave me, that was a new one to me, the heads of division, etc. These are the abbreviations that may be common to some people, and even you don't need to work internationally. Someone may have used a certain abbreviation in a company, and this abbreviation may have a complete different meaning in another company. So really be mindful of all the things that you thought were obvious to you or that you took for granted, because as soon as you go internationally, things are completely different. And especially when people are not native English speakers, this is where you have to be extra careful. And
Another
yes,
comment, this is
yes,
from Isaac. He
yes.
says, you'll never be able to master diverse cultures. Be humble and admit your weakness and ask your people for guidance. This is
Exactly.
extremely helpful. I did it in Japan and was very successful.
Exactly. Great point, Isaac. Exactly. Ask questions, do your research, ask people. That was the same for me when first time I went to India. I asked my colleagues, how do people are dressed over there, especially women, and how do I greet people, and how do I say hello, and all these type of things, because you want to try to show that you are as open-minded as possible, that you try to fit in the culture of your host, and that you don't want to offend people, but you want to respect them as much as possible. So yes, indeed, ask questions, do your research. This is really, really important.
But you don't have to solve it on your own either, and not even in that way. You have people like you, V, right? Like let's do a little bit of a plug here and say, if you're struggling with this kind of stuff, like outsource it. Bring on an expert, bring on a coach, and say, hey, here's what my team looks like. Here's our current team dynamic. Here's the different cultures we represent. What kind of stuff should I really pay attention to? What are my red flags, and what kind of conversation should I be a little bit more cautious? You're not going to give them every answer, but at least you can kind of prep these people, and get them in the right mindset when they're going through those conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one of the values that we bring as an organization, is to be able to look at things from a different angle. And good practice is sometimes you need outside eyes to look at things to really begin to find the right responses, because even internally we get so internally focused that so we're here. We want to work with organizations and individuals to really help overcome some of this.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yes. Another thing that's really important, and it's for your customers. Again, some things that may be obvious for you in your country may not be so obvious for another customer in another country. And here I want to take two examples. One was when, again, I was working in Amazon, And I remember we were implementing something new, and we heard that people in the Philippines were not used to deal with credit cards. And what we had implemented is that people needed to pay with credit card. And again, in Europe, everybody is familiar with credit card. I know in America, in the US, Canada, etc., also people are familiar. But in some countries, when you have customers, you're serving customers internationally, make sure, double check that what you think is obvious for you is the same somewhere else. So again, don't assume you know everything. Ask questions, to Isaac's point. The other thing again is with the greeting of people. In English, it's easy. We say you. You can be for one person, but it can also be for several people. And whether you are being formal or informal, you use the you. But me being French, if I talk to someone, a new customer, a potential client or stakeholder, whatever, and I'm only meeting that person for the first time, or even if I've met that person for the first time, I first will never approach him or her by his or her first name. I will never say, hey, Jean. No, I would say, hey, Mr. Smith, for instance. That's the first thing. And the you in French, we have two. We have the tu for when people know each other. And then we have the vous. The vous is when you speak to a group of people, or the polite way. It's the same in German, the same in Dutch, or in Italian, you also have these differences. But in English, it makes it easy. But if you don't want to offend people, you show them respect. I should never, and I would never say to someone that I'm meeting for the first time or talking to for the first time, because I know this is key for failure. The person will say, well, who do you think you are? You're saying to me and you're using my first name. We've never met before. So again, be very mindful when you work internationally. Don't think you know everything. Really do your research, ask people questions, and start with your audience. Try to know their customs, try to understand how they work, so that you can, again, have a better connection, and you can start building trust and respect. I see, Chris, you're having a question. Go on.
Yes. I want to pose this to you guys. Should we, as leaders, surround ourselves with people who actually know more than what we do, and also create that environment, not only from a culture aspect dynamic, but also from that human dynamic, to which what connects us all is our very humanity, that we are putting people in positions of success that not only becomes replicatable and duplicatable, but we're surrounding those people with people who know what they know, and they know it far better than not only us, but probably anyone else. Should we do it in that kind of way, that we actually are surrounding ourselves with people who know what they know and know it very well?
My answer is yes. That's why you have experts. You have experts in your team. Yeah, like in the different teams I had people who were very skilled in Excel and SQL and doing all these macro and the reports and etc. I had the vision. I was telling them, this is what I need, this is what I like to have, but I would never have been able to do what they were doing, because they were so great at what they are doing, and they were thriving. They loved what they were doing. If they had told me, okay, Virginie, you do it, and we change job, I would have felt miserable, because I would have been struggling. It would have cost me at least 2, 3, 4 times the time they used to. And they probably would have struggled as well, because they were not so comfortable with talking to people or managing people. They were really into their reports. So to me, a leader needs to surround himself or herself with people that know more than they know, because again, a leader is as good as his teams. And if you have strong people in your team, that just shows that you are a strong leader, that you, again, to Kevin's point earlier on, you are humble. You show that you don't know everything. You know that you need your team around you, and that you are nothing if you don't have the strong people around you. So that would be my answer.
My answer is in action. Look around who I surrounded myself with, right? I'm the youngest person on this team. These two are well more experienced than me, well more knowledgeable. They have strengths that are so much better than mine. And if I just went and surround myself with people that are weaker than me, what would be the point? Like, what? That's the problem with a lot of leaders. We were so worried about our position. I mentioned this already before, Wrong leaders put position over purpose. And for that reason, to protect their position, they're trying to surround themselves with people that won't take that position. And in turn, nothing ever happens. But if you're actually chasing purpose and what you're trying to accomplish, then you're going to surround yourself with people that are going to help you accomplish the purpose. And by that, you're going to have a better team and everything's going to be awesome. And with the onboarding, once again, tying that in, if you did a good job as a leader onboarding, you hired people that are potentially better than you. Let those strengths show. Don't make them be average. Let them shine through those strengths, and hopefully they become better than you. Shouldn't our team be better than us because we taught them everything that we know and then we allowed their strength to shine on top of what we already built for them?
Yeah, as a leader, you're always not only looking at what they currently have, look at the potential, and you should be building towards that potential. And if that potential is beyond what your capability is, no harm, no foul, because at some point you need somebody to be a successor. And the greatest legacy as a leader is someone that can come in and go beyond what you were able to do, and then you can move on and be a leader in a new environment to do what you can do best, and so on. It's a part of the whole system of human sustainability.
Yeah. Great question, Chris. Thank you for asking, and thank you guys for jumping in. The last point I'd like to make, if you are working internationally as well, and especially if you or your team members are traveling, also provide them information on business etiquette. This is also something that I see is often underestimated or even completely forgotten, but it can help the transition and the onboarding of your people so much easier. To just show them, give them some information on, again, how to greet people, in what order should you address people. Again, in some cultures, like Isaac said, in Japan or in Asia, in some countries, the hierarchy is very important, and not everybody should address the CEO of a company over there. So you need to know in which order you can talk, or you should talk, the way you present your business card. For women as well, the way you dress in some countries as well, you need to cover your shoulders or not show your legs, etc. So know this information up front. And I know this can be overwhelming to have all these additional pieces of training and of information in your onboarding program. And if you are a small company, you may not have either the time or people who are able to train that. But as Anton and Kevin said, either outsource it or refer people. There are so many websites, like also Wes mentioned a book from Gert Hofstede. There are so many information out there that people can look up, but provide them with links to where they can find the information. There are great websites out there, videos on YouTube, etc., where if you cannot provide this information to your people internally, at least refer them to some websites where they can get the information, or outsource it to a company that can help you with that. So very important part of the onboarding as well, aside from the administrative onboarding, the technical, social, and cultural onboarding. This part, focusing on the international aspect, I think it's very important, and it's often forgotten or underestimated. So, are there any questions before I'm going to close this session and this day, actually? Any more questions or comments from anyone?
The only thing Isaac commented, and we've kind of addressed, is the idea of not bringing in external help. And certainly we encourage people to be able to work internally. But I have to say, been doing this a long time, a lot of different environments, and there are many times where I'm too close and I need people from the outside to help me with perspective, and that have I give them intentionality to say, hey, you're doing this wrong. And sometimes our internal situations may or may not be conducive. So I appreciate, trying to address things internally. No problem, but I would suggest that there is wisdom in considering an outside help, even, even if it's not a paid person, sometimes we need that outside perspective. So just a thought.
And bringing in the concept of human sustainability, right? Don't wear your people out trying things over and over and failing, right? Your people after a while start going, what are we really doing? We keep shifting direction, we keep shifting course, you know, and it was just not getting anywhere. And sometimes bringing external help is good, but what I wrote in the comment, what kind of external help, right? Sometimes you may need a consultant, somebody that comes in and tells you exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and when to, you know, breathe, for all that matters. But maybe you need a coach where your team may never even know that you're working with somebody. This is just done one-on-one. V sits down with you and, you know, goes over the things that you need to be prepared for, the way that you need to think. That's really what the good coach does, is helps you to teach you how to think and how to organize your information, how to be prepared for things. And it's everything is coming from you instead of it coming from somebody else. So you become the people's champion. That's one of the biggest things that Perspective Force wants to do for leaders, is to make you be the people's champion, where people look at you as their hero, right? Like that's what I want every leader to be, is be people's heroes.
Yeah, when I approach someone as a coach, I'm not trying to tell them how to do things my way. My goal is to help them find the best way within their situation, their personality, their total picture, how to apply different principles that's going to help them become better at what they do, reaching their potential so that they can lead others into their potential.
And Isaac makes another comment. He says it's always a problem, a shortage of time. And that leads me to what I wanted to kind of propose we close with, is how can we be more intentional with our time? Because I think that we end up with shortage of time when it comes down to onboarding, because we check boxes. We have these processes that are just, you know, hit repeat, and they are time consuming, but the return on investment ends up being really low. And when I think about intentionality of time, I always think about kids as an analogy. I look at a sideline and there's two parents. One parent's there, they're with their kid, they're watching the game, they're yelling, they're cheering. Another parent's there, but they're on their phone, they're distracted, they're not really there. The reality is that kid would take that parent being there 15 times instead of the full hour on the phone while they were fully present. So I would just challenge us to find, how can we be more intentional as leaders with onboarding with that time? So that way we don't have to maybe give as much, but the time that we do give gives us the most bang for our buck.
Yeah.
Well, we need to let V get back. We kind of jumped in there.
Oh, I thought you said you were closing.
Yeah, but I'm before I'm closing, I wanted to check if people have questions. No, that's okay, no problem. Don't worry, I'm almost done. So, no, your guys are making great points. Thank you. So what I want to close it is that, remember, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And it's about thinking and planning about the long term, and to your point, Anton, as well, how we use the time. So ideally, leaders, they are not waiting until they really need someone urgently. They are thinking ahead and thinking, okay, what role will I need in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, and start to think in that direction, how they can find that person, either internally by developing their own people, or externally by trying to attend events and promote that in schools, etc. So it's very important to think and plan long term. Another thing I'd like to remind people again is connecting your people and your culture, the culture of your company, or your organization, but also your culture as a country, and making sure, again, if you're working with people from different cultures or different countries, they can connect with your organization, and that they can share the values and understand their vision. So this is also a very important point I would like to remind everybody. And another thing that is also very helpful is that by being transparent, and also prepare them for what is coming, that they may hit the wall, that they may be stressed at the beginning, and to tell them again that it is okay. It can be so overwhelming with all the information they're going to get in the next few weeks or months, and that it is okay to feel like, oh my God, have I done the right choice? I'm stupid, I feel stupid, I'm not going to make it, etc. Reassure them and tell them that it's normal. Again, give them a chance to provide feedback and to ask questions. That is also one thing that will help them again be as productive as possible and continue developing themselves and thriving. So that is something to remind or to remember as well. And as I say, ask for feedback. This is your chance again to ask your new hires if they liked your onboarding, and if there are things that you could improve. Because again, by getting this feedback, and as we know, feedback is a gift, by getting that feedback, this will allow you to continuously improve, to take the feedback of your latest new hires and to put it into your training, so that the next person who is going to come on board will have, let's say, the improved version. And as I think, can't remember who wrote that comment, I think it was Jeff, who said we can always become better. And yes, the more you do it, the better you will be. But there is nothing that is perfect, and we all know the world is changing, so there are always things we can take into consideration and that we can implement in our onboarding plan. So ask for feedback, not only to ensure that your new hire is ready to go, and we're going to discuss the development side tomorrow with Anton, who is going to give us this time a presentation, but also ask for feedback about your onboarding training, so that then again you can improve it for the future. So that was it for today. As I said, today we saw again what is it putting the square peg into a round hole? What are the challenges we may face when we think about onboarding? How onboarding is important, and that it's actually an investment. It's better to invest upfront than paying later. Again, when you invest and you make sure that your new hires have a great onboarding, it will stick to them. I read a book recently from Ron Kaufman about excellent customer service, and I can't remember the title now, I'm stuck there, sorry. But he said that when people get a great customer service training, that will stick, and this is how they will deliver a great customer experience. And in the end, that is why you're doing it, because you want to make sure your customers are happy or happiest, and that they keep on coming back. So investing in your people is an investment where you will get the return later. And if you're not doing this right, as I say, you will pay later, because your people will either be demotivated, be stressed, and will want to leave, and will leave you if you have not done the right job and not supporting them the right way. And finally, the team synergy, very important to make sure that everybody's on the same page and everybody's strength is used, so that again, you have a great team with people who are better than you, and you can achieve your goals and even exceed them. So what's next, as I say, for tomorrow? Tomorrow we are going to go through the same presentation style. We are going to start with a keynote that I will deliver myself. We'll have after a panel discussion, and then Anton will talk about the development of our new employees. So we're going to see that we should not just hire them and leave them alone. We're going to see how to foster the entrepreneurial spirit that we mentioned today, thanks to Chris, and we're going to talk about career development. So as a summary, or just to remind you, as we said, we are Prospective Force. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us at admin@prospectiveforce.com, or follow us on LinkedIn as well. Follow Prospective Force, join our movement, Human SOS. This is really important. We think that the future is about people, and making sure, especially with the year we've all been through, now more than ever, people need to feel that they are being cared for, and that they are not just check boxes or just numbers, but that they are people, and that they can thrive and do a great job, and being supported and being motivated. And for those of you who don't know me, don't hesitate as well to follow me on LinkedIn on my profile. So want to thank you guys again. If there are any last questions or comments, we'll be more than happy to take them. And otherwise, we are going to see you all tomorrow. Any last questions, comments?
just be sure if you want to invite people for tomorrow, that we would be more than happy to have new people join in, and we can help them get caught up. And so just please go register at the website, and that would be great, because there's going to be some additional communication with some benefits and things for those that have registered beyond what you've been able to enjoy on the live part.